Good evening, everybody. It's Eric from Thomas Hills Ranch, and I'm not sure what I'm going to title this one, but it'll probably be a volume 1, and it's going to be talking about problems with goats. When I first started this and decided to have an online presence, I didn't want to just put the happy stories, because I don't think that does people a whole lot of good. I think it's more valuable to show your successes and your failures, or at least your struggles. I don't know about failures. So I'm going to show you this time some of the struggles that I'm dealing with. I know in one of my last videos I told you that I was going to look for a honey locust and show you how vicious they are. Well, here is our popular honey locust. I don't know if you can see that. These are spikes that grow on it, and sometimes, I guess when they have leaves on them, they're not a problem. But the other day I was putting in some fence around here and just walking about, minding my own business, and walked straight into one of these branches. And this one doesn't have one on the end here, but yeah, these hurt. One went into my thumb, and about 4 or 5 of them went into my chest, poked me right through my shirt, and it hurts. But as you can see here, we got one here, we got one right here. This is a honey locust. Here's another one. So when they have leaves on them, they're not too bad looking. They almost look harmless. And then you get to those spikes. Those have got to be at least an inch, up to 1.5 inches. That's even more. That's got a double spike on it. So anyway, that's a good way to start off the video on the pains of keeping goats, or difficulties of keeping goats. The other one is electric wire. And I've told you before, I'm training the goats to 2 electric wire. And so far it's going relatively well. They've been moved, let me see, 1, 2, I don't know, maybe around 10 to 15 times so far. So they're getting good at being moved. They may even come up here while I'm talking and just gather around the fence. When I was working this area, I was prepping for my next move, placing the stakes, not talking at all, just wandering around. They all came up here, gathered right next to this fence like it was the mass exodus here, and I was parting the sea for them. So I actually had to stop because I was afraid that they would jump over the fence, which they can, and they have proven to. In my last paddock, right before the one they're in now, I noticed the paddock was a little thinner. And so immediately they started running over, and I think I only had 1 wire up, but it was the high wire. And some of the small goats went under, and a couple of the bigger goats just hopped over it like it wasn't even there. So I had to get him back quickly. And really all I did was harassed him, scared him back over to the other side. So will the goats get through this? Absolutely. This is not a hard fence to get past. This is, you know, I'd have to put a wall, like a border wall, 15 feet high to keep these goats in, and it'd probably have to be solid. So I'm not kidding myself thinking that I'm doing anything real difficult to keep these goats in. The real thing keeping these goats in is the electricity, which is my next problem. So these reels, I really do like these reels. I kind of had questions about them. I saved about 20 bucks. They hold a whole 1,300 feet roll of the, it's not the turbo wire, it's the braided wire, and work relatively well. I'm relatively pleased. But this right here is a hard plastic, and as you can see, I put some rubber bands. These are actually for saddles. You put it around the horn of a saddle. So it's a pretty thick rubber. I don't think it'll last too long. It looks like it's already wearing in the sun. But the way they have this designed, this hard plastic does conduct electricity. I found that out when I first got them, and it kind of shocked my hand a little bit. No biggie. It was just a little shock because, of course, I wasn't grounded very well. I probably had, you know, my rubber boots on or something like that. I have been shocked through my leather gloves, which again, it's a nice little snap. It'll wake you up and tell you you're doing something wrong. But the other day I was moving, actually it was this line that went all the way across the property there, and I was getting ready to hook it up. This will basically be my power source for my next move. And I had one that was similar to this, where it was just a half of the plastic was covered, and I think I was grabbing the bottom there. Well, at the same time, I was trying to remove one of these connectors from a steel rod, and my short sleeve shirt, I had my skin against a steel rod, which was grounded pretty deep into the ground. And if you know anything about electricity, it likes to seek out of ground. And man, I think I received the whole capabilities of my electric charger. And these things are no joke, folks. These are, I made sounds like you never want to hear coming out of your mouth. And not that I was cursing, it was more of a guttural groan. And of course I hop off the ground, and it was so bad that when I went back, I put the electric down, and without holding any electric, and it was far enough away from the post, I was going to grab the post, and I was still nervous to grab the post. So it is an emotional deal when you're dealing with electricity, when you actually get shocked. So I know personally how the goats feel now when they get shocked. It is and the dogs, sadly, it is an emotional experience. So that is something to think about when you do get electric. I know they will tell you that goats, they need a little higher kick from the electric because they're stubborn. And I would tell you, they're not only stubborn, they're super smart. So you do need something to really train them really well and really quickly. You don't want to get them in bad habits and try to have to break them from bad habits. That being said, I'm using a charger that puts out 8 joules. And I was going to go with a more powerful charger that put out, I think it was 12 joules. But then I was talking to the guys down at the ranch that I'm interning on, and they said that they had a charger that rated in the teens. I want to say it was like 14 joules. And they had one of their employees accidentally touch that, and it shocked them so bad that they ended up in the hospital with heart palpitations. So again, these are no joke. These are not things you want to play around with. And you know, you always hear stories about people touching them and daring, kids daring each other to touch them. They do make weaker ones, and I think I had a weaker one in North Dakota. I got a full hit from that, and I still wouldn't want to do it again. I've gotten the full hit from this. I think when I do test this with my fence charger, it's putting out, anywhere from 6,000 to 11,000 volts is what I've seen run through this. So again, no joke, fair warning there. Don't play around with it. I guess don't get too confident. Maybe that's what I was doing the other day, as I got too confident. The other difficulty, besides the vines that I'm tripping over, feeding the dogs and keeping the goats out. So I do like this setup. Again, I'll give Greg Judy credit. I got it from his website. He uses it for sheep, to keep sheep out. He says sheep will not go under a certain distance. Here was my first distance here, and the goats got through that no problem. Then I put this swinging gate up to think, okay, maybe the swinging gate will stop them. That didn't stop them at all. They learned quicker than the dogs did to get through that swinging gate. Now I have to resort to locking it, and not just locking it, but locking it and putting poles down, because I have 2 goats which have learned the bad habits. And as you can see by the remnants of goats left around the pen, that they have been in there. And I put a 5-gallon bucket in there the other day, and I don't think the dogs are eating that much, but it's almost gone, to the point where I now have to put more in. So I'm either going to keep this locked, which I still have to drag it to the next paddock, or every paddock, in order to feed the dogs, or I'll just switch to bringing a bowl out every time I visit the dogs or the goats. And I'm out here. I'm treating this like a full-time job, and so I'm out here several times a day. The other thing that we're dealing with, and we're seeing an increase in, is coyotes. I think probably 5 out of the past 7 nights, We've had coyotes on the property and they've been yipping. The worst night was we had one that must have been right outside our bedroom window, and then one in this field back here, and then one behind me. And you could hear them yipping to each other, calling to each other. Old Luna and Teddy, they were on guard. They were both barking, so they were doing their job, letting them know that they were there. But I do go out and I get a flashlight and always walk out and kind of stand around, make sure that the goats haven't been scared outside the wire, which has also happened. And it wasn't coyotes that scared the goats out. It was somebody else. I won't say who, but he's small and fluffy and likes to chase goats, and specifically our younger goats. If he wasn't so cute, we'd probably get rid of him. But just kidding. He's a great dog. But he does like to chase these ones. These are some of our younger ones. And I found 3 of them sitting right outside the wire, and they were just laying there waiting to get back in. Getting them back in was a task. It is not easy, even though they want to get back in, because they don't like that wire. So I tried raising it up, but they didn't want to come with me because I was standing too close to it. And then eventually, I think one of them snuck under, one of them, I think I scared the other one through, and the other one I actually had to catch, and that's another task in itself. So, like I said, I wanted to share with you the good and the bad, and we've been incredibly blessed here. We have not lost any goats. I have had to deworm a couple, just because they were looking kind of scrawny and their FAMACHA score is rated real low. Their tails didn't look bad or anything like that. Their coats, yeah, they were kind of a little bad, but so I decided to worm them. That's the only worming they're going to get, and if they need more, they're going to have to leave the property. And then there's one other that I'm kind of watching, but I don't want to. My goal is to not have to worm my animals, and as long as they can survive here, I know some of them will thrive, but and some will not without wormer. But overall, our goats are doing really well, and so are the dogs. And as you can see, they're alert because the family's coming. So I'll sign off here, and again, thanks for watching, and God bless everybody, and we'll see you next time.